Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to the eighth inning stretch. Welcome to those of you on the live stream and those of you listening on replay on your favorite podcast platform. I'm AJ. He's Carson. So we were off last week, and Carson. Normally, when we take a week off, the news cycle goes crazy. But some stuff happened while we were gone, but it didn't go as crazy as it has in the past.
Yeah. We've certainly got a lot of things to catch up on. Obviously, the trade deadline has now come and gone.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to catch up on, obviously there. But yeah, as far as at least from the baseball news cycle, not much has really happened.
Yeah, things didn't really go crazy. I guess maybe because the sports news cycle has been dominated by the Olympics. That feels like it's been part of it. But anyways, yeah, we do have lots to get to. Yeah, we do have lots to get to. By the way, sorry we're late this morning. That's on me. So, but anyways, we're live, like we are pretty much every Sunday, at eighthinningpod.com/live stream on demand anytime wherever you get your podcasts at linktree/eighth-inning-stretch. Of course, you could follow us on Twitter at eighth-inning-pod, and for more, including our newsletter blog, weekly newsletter blog, Two Strike Count, and our original documentary series, The Book of Baseball, you can head to eighthinningpod.com and help us continue making the best indie baseball content this side of home plate by supporting the show using the QR code on your screen if you're on the live stream, or at eighthinningpod.com/donate. And we greatly appreciate all your guys' support, whether it's listening, tuning into the live stream, listening to the show on demand, supporting us in any way you can. We appreciate all of it, because we couldn't do this without you guys. So, all right, down to business here. Poll results first. So this was a little different. We ran this poll for 2 weeks instead of the normal 1 week, because we were off last week and wanted to give you guys a chance, everyone a chance to cast their vote. And a pretty straight up poll question we had for you guys this week. We asked you, should MLB players play in the 2028 Olympics? Of course, Carson, now with this year's Olympics 2024 winding down, everyone's focus, at least for, from the summer perspective, everyone's focus shifting to 2028 when the games are in LA. And by the slimmest of margins, 34% of you said yes, 33% said no, and 33% said maybe. Wow, some mixed feelings from our fans.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a very highly debated topic for on the last show as well. With
Yes.
myself being for it, AJ being against it, and it looks like many of the fans felt the same way. A very, very tight margin, but hey, shout out to the 34% of you, because I am right there with you.
Yeah, I know I said I was, just in general, I'm not a big fan of like the NBA and the NHL, and to a lesser extent the WNBA. Not quite as bad, but I've never really been a fan of the NBA and the NHL competing in the Olympics. The NHL is a little different, I guess, because the NHL has players from all over the place, whereas with the NBA, the majority of players, let's be honest, the majority of NBA players play for Team USA, with a couple of exceptions. Nikola Jokic playing for Serbia, Victor Wembanyama playing for France. But when they say NBA, they really mean Team USA, basically. And so, I don't know. So part of me thinks, okay, the games are in LA, let MLB play. Where I have a problem, where I'm still a little, I don't like the idea of, I'm not a fan of the idea of breaking up the MLB season in order to make this happen, which is what would have to happen. I mean, we're talking about the Olympics are what, July, August. I mean, that's right smack in the middle of the season.
No, yeah, and like
Ah,
we'd kind of talked about, that's a fair point, and we could go down this rabbit hole all episode again if we really
yes.
wanted to, because there's so much to talk about when it comes to that. But yeah, it's clearly going to be a very hotly contested topic as we look forward to the 2028 Olympic Games.
She'll be here before you know it. Ladies and gents. 2028, that's 4 years away. Yeah, well, that'll be here before you know it. So let's do this. Yeah, because Carson's right. We talked about this a lot last episode, and we obviously posed this question to you guys in a poll question, but let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about let us know what you think about MLB taking part in the 2028 Olympics, from the standpoint of how it would affect the season. Drop us a line in the mailbag, 8thinningpod.com/mailbag or 8thinningstretch@gmail.com. Let us know what you guys think about it. Whether the poll results obviously speak for themselves, but let us know what you guys think about that and how it would affect the season, and where you stand on that. And we'll have some of your guys, we'll read some of your guys' responses on the next episode next week. So anyways, yeah, so that's that. That's the poll. Thanks everybody as always for taking part in that, for voting in the poll. We'll have a new one of those up for you guys soon here. So at the 8thinningpod.com/poll. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah. So some sad news from the baseball world. And Carson, you and I are always talking about how much we don't like how much we're getting used to doing these. So a little confusion with this story, because initially I thought, and I think a lot of people thought, that Billy Beane, Moneyball Billy Beane, had passed away, but it was actually Billy Beane, the former player.
Yeah, a lot of confusion on my social media artist, previously known as Twitter timeline, when this news broke, for sure.
Yeah, I think all of us pretty much saw Billy Beane and immediately thought that it was Moneyball Billy Beane. But no, Moneyball Billy Beane is fine, everybody. So he's alive and well. This was Billy Beane, the former player, who was the league's senior vice president of inclusion. The only openly gay Major League Baseball player, current or former. I remember pretty well. I think it was like 98 or 99 when he made the announcement. He was a 4th round draft pick by the Tigers in 1986. Played for the Tigers, the Dodgers, and the Padres from 1987 to 1995. And then like I said, made the announcement in 99, and in 2003 published a book, Going the Other Way, which I would highly recommend everybody read. And then in 2014, joined the office of the commissioner, hired by then Commissioner Bud Selig as MLB's first ever ambassador for inclusion. And then became a senior advisor to Rob Manfred when Manfred took over. And his role focused on player education, inclusion for the LGBTQ community, and social justice initiatives. Not Carson. I wouldn't say that Billy Beane is a. Not. I don't think a lot of people. I could be wrong, but I don't think a lot of people know him or his story. It doesn't seem that way.
No, a lot more people obviously know the story of the other Billy Beane.
Right. Yes. Everybody knows Moneyball Billy Beane.
Yeah, but I would argue this Billy Beane has had more of an impact on baseball than I'm going to get myself confused now, than the Oakland A's Billy Beane had.
Yes.
Like you said, obviously a huge proponent for inclusion in the game, obviously serving as that senior vice president in that role. Huge advocate for the LGBTQ community in MLB, being part of that community himself. Just another day to say F cancer.
Yes.
And
cancer can F all the way off.
Yeah, and I mean, 60 years old is still way too young. I know that he had so much more work to do, and he'd been doing, an awesome, I know he'd been doing an awesome job in trying to continue to make LGBTQ more accepted in MLB, and he was responsible for all sorts of kinds of different initiatives and things of that nature, and just gonna real quick put this out there because I saw some comments on this that made me kind of throw up in my mouth a little. Someone's death is not a place for you to talk about your religious or political beliefs.
Oh, God, yeah.
So please don't, because there is a family that is grieving right now. Yeah. And they do not need to see you talking about his sexual orientation or spouting off your hateful crap. So, but of course, obviously, condolences, thoughts, prayers to the Beane family during this difficult time, to his former teammates, to everybody in MLB that he worked with, because from what I've seen, nothing but a fantastic guy who really had a passion for what he did.
Yeah, he definitely widely respected by the baseball community. The reason we're talking about cancer effing all the way off is because Billy passed away after an 11-month battle with leukemia. He was apparently diagnosed last September and was only 60 years old. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up about the reacting appropriately to someone's passing. Let's bear with me a second. Let's see if I can find this because I saw a post like that, and come on, where is it? Sorry, everybody. I've got to scroll my feed real quick. While I'm scrolling, can we just talk for a second about how awesome a moment we had with Caitlin Clark meeting Aaron Judge?
Yeah, talk about some superstars coming together on that one.
Talk about some star power. Of course, if we're being honest, Caitlin Clark really should have been in Paris right now, playing basketball. But apparently she met Aaron Judge. I think she threw out the first pitch at the Yankees game, and was on the Yankees broadcast on the Yes Network. So that was pretty cool. Oh, where is it? You know, I really have gotta. I've got to start. I've got to start. Normally, I'm really good about bookmarking posts. You know, for the mostly for the show. Come on, where is it? All my posts about the basketball team. Did it get deleted? Okay, I can't find it, guys. But basically, the gist was it was a post from Fox News, so you know, take that with the biggest grain of salt. But it was a post about Billy Beane's passing, from Fox News, and you know what? I bet I can find the. Yeah. So the headline from Fox News was MLB's DEI, which, in case you're not keeping score at home, has become the, well, let's be honest, it's become the right's sort of defaults. You know, oh, this person, you know, we don't think this person was qualified for their position, so we're going to call them DI because they only got hired in the name of diversity and inclusion. But the Fox News headline was MLB's DEI executive Billy Beane dead at 60. Yeah, screw you, Fox News. That's exactly the kind of thing that Carson was just talking about. And I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if it's just sometimes, and sometimes we forget that these, you know, these people and these athletes and whatever, sometimes we forget that they're people. They're, you know, they're actual people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, these people, you know, everybody is a human in this world, and you know, the golden rule seems to be ever increasingly distant in our society today, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's not so golden anymore. But anyways, yeah. So basically, just, you know, be a good person. Just, you know, if somebody, you know, if something like this happens, and you know, so what? You don't agree with, you know, in this case, you don't agree with Billy's lifestyle. You know, you don't agree with his choices. You don't agree with the fact that, you know, he he publicly, you know, came out, um or any of that stuff. But you know what, just be, you know, so what, you don't agree with his, you know, his lifestyle and whatnot. As the as the future vice president of the United States has said on numerous occasions, mind your own damn business.
Shout out to my governor right there.
Yeah,
Hey,
can I just for a second, I can I just, on behalf of America, well, most of America, and you know who I'm talking about, I just would like to thank you, Carson, and the entire state of Minnesota for giving us the absolute treasure that is Mr. Tim Walz.
yeah, the country's gonna love him. We're happy to give him on a 4-year loan for the
Oh,
White House.
8-year loan
Okay, well, 4 years with a 4 years with a team option. How
with
about
an
that?
option for 4 years. Yes, thank you. Yes. No, I already love this man. I watched the first rally that they had together when he was introduced, and I was like, I've heard talk of the Midwestern charm, and he personifies it to a T.
Yeah, it's still pretty surreal to think that my governor is a nominee for vice president. That's wild.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, before he was announced as the running mate, I had heard his name, but I had no idea who he was. I didn't know anything about him. And no, seriously, I mean, this dude could be someone, he could be someone's dad, he could be, someone's uncle. Like he's just a down to earth, salt of the earth Midwestern dude. And yeah, anyways, so not to get, not to veer too far into the political side of things, but all this stuff I've been seeing about Billy Beane reminded me of that. Yeah, mind your own damn business. So anyways, obviously sad news about Billy Beane. And yeah, just be a good person. Just, respect the fact that his friends and family are mourning him. And just, keep your BS to yourself, for once. Anyways, Commissioner Rob Manfred, real quick. Rob Manfred had some really nice things to say about him. So Manfred said, our hearts are broken today as we mourn our dear friend and colleague, Billy Beane, one of the kindest and most respected individuals I've ever known. Billy was a friend to countless people across our game, and he made a difference through his constant dedication to others. He made baseball a better institution, both on and off the field, by the power of example, his empathy, his communication skills, his deep relationships inside and outside our sport, and his commitment to doing the right thing. We are forever grateful for the enduring impact that Billy made on the game he loved, and we will never forget him. On behalf of Major League Baseball, I extend my deepest condolences to Billy's husband, Greg Baker, and their entire family. Really, really kind of nice words there from Mr. Manfred. So, this Billy Beane, you think made it bigger? Yeah, you know what? I think I have to agree with you. Obviously, Oakland Moneyball Billy Beane, obviously his impact on baseball can't be understated, but his impact is limited only to on the field.
Right. And I think that's mostly where this take comes from me, is that, Billy, like you said, the Oakland Moneyball Billy Beane obviously has a massive legacy for the Oakland Athletics organization, but I don't feel like his legacy necessarily has the wide impact across the game as the
Billy.
senior president of inclusion, Billy Beane.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And also, to be fair, Moneyball Billy Beane had an entire team of people that helped him do what he did.
Right.
This Billy, we need to. I don't know how to Moneyball Billy Beane and Billy Beane, I guess, is the. Even now, I'm getting confused now. Yes, this Billy Beane, the one we're talking about, the one that just passed away. Obviously he, I'm sure he had people working with him, but he did this mostly on his own. Like, this was his whole. I don't know for sure, but from what I understand, it sounds like this whole ambassador for inclusion thing was his idea when he teamed up with Bud Selig back in 2014.
Yeah.
Like, he went to Bud Selig and was like, hey, Bud, we should do this. It's important. And now look, I was going to say every team in baseball has a pride night except for one, Texas Rangers. But we wouldn't have that without Billy. So, anyways, obviously some sad news, and we wish the best send our thoughts and prayers and good vibes to Billy's family and his friends. So moving on to a a lighter topic for sure, but one that makes me equally that's got me equally fired up. Carson, I think it's a fair statement to say that the Chicago White Sox definitely this year, but for the last 2-3 years have been an absolute train wreck. Would you agree with that statement?
As someone who shares a division with the Chicago White Sox, let me put it this way: the White Sox have not been a team that I am shaking in my boots
No.
whenever the Twins play them or go to Chicago for the past few years. This is a correct statement.
Yeah, talk about a fall from grace. I remember the White Sox teams of the 90s and with, players like Frank Thomas, and when the White Sox were feared. Yeah, not so much anymore. And a lot of that has to do with their knucklehead of an owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, who of course also owns the Chicago Bulls and pulled the put together the whole Michael Jordan playing for the White Sox thing and everything. But yeah, so the White Sox have gotten worse over the last few years, and this year they hit a new low. They're I don't even know what is their record right now. Anyways, it's bad. Yeah, they've won. They're 28-91. A whopping 41 games out of behind the first place Cleveland Guardians. They went through the 21 game losing streak recently. And thrust into the middle of this whole mess, Carson, was Pedro Grifol, now the former manager of the White Sox. But you and I were kind of talking about this before, and he talk about being set up to fail, like put in an impossible situation. This White Sox roster is, as Charles Barkley would put it, terrible.
Yeah, it's to quote Chuck again, it's filled with a bunch of knuckleheads. Yeah, this roster has been not constructed very well. There have been plenty of guys who earlier in their careers had promise, but like Yoan Moncada, constantly injured. Eloy Jimenez, constantly injured. Now he's gone. Michael Kopech, constantly injured. Now he's gone. When arguably your best player is a guy who gets, and I'll have a little more to say on him later, but a guy who gets moved from the bullpen into a starter for 1 year and suddenly lights the world on fire. That's not great. Yeah, not good.
Yeah. This roster is just, this isn't even, I mean, this barely qualifies as a major league roster. Reinsdorf and general manager Chris Getz have shown zero interest, zero motivation in building a competitive team. I mean, the White Sox haven't made the playoffs. They did get in 2021. But they haven't made the playoffs for a few years. But beyond that, Carson, Jerry Reinsdorf has owned the White Sox since 1981. And they have made the playoffs precisely. Let's see here. Let's see. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not very good at math, but I know that 7 out of making the playoffs 7 times in 40 seasons is not a great average.
No, that's a not good average. And like you said, I remember the days where whenever we'd play the White Sox, it was scary because those teams had like Paul Conroy and Adam Dunn and AJ Pierzynski,
Mark Burley,
like those teams were scary. And all of this to say that while probably change was going to come in the firing of Pedro Grifol, you can't go on a 21 game losing streak and not expect somebody to get the axe. Not all of this was on him, that's for sure.
No, he was the scapegoat. Because the team's problems were bigger than just him. I mean, the dude's only been there for 2 years, and they were already bad when he got there, and they haven't gotten any better. And he's the scapegoat, and I get it. Yes, I know when things like this happen, somebody has to take the blame. And obviously Jerry Reinsdorf's not going to fire himself, even though he probably should. Probably sell the team to someone who actually gives a damn. But come on. You're telling me that he couldn't wait until the season was... Where the season's practically... Like, you couldn't wait till the end of the season to fire the dude? Come on. Give me a break.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's such a gutless move. Like, just let the dude finish the season. Everybody in the world knows he's not going to come. You're not going to bring him back as your manager next year, even though. Okay, I'll admit. Clearly, if a team loses 21 games in a row, clearly the manager deserves some of the blame. Like,
right,
but. Coaches and managers and whatever, they can only do so much. They can only do the best with what you give them. Like if the team is poorly constructed, like this team is, like the managers and coaches, they're not miracle workers, people. They can do the best with what they've been given. And in this case, Pedro Grifol was given precisely jack and squat. He was given I'm sorry, White Sox and White Sox fans, but they gave him a terrible team. And I mean, you can have there's a right way to handle this, and there's the way that they handled it. Have a conversation with Pedro and go, hey, look, this clearly isn't working out. We're going to make a change this offseason. But hey, we'll let you finish out the season. Instead, no, they pull the plug on him now. And interim manager Grady Sizemore? ?
Yeah, that's a choice.
Does Grady Sizemore even have any
as a player? Grady Sizemore was one of my absolute favorites to watch, even though I hated his stinking guts for what he always did to my Twins. But
yeah,
this is clearly a stopgap move. I feel bad for Grady because he's kind of getting thrown into the fire here. I highly doubt he actually gets consideration for the permanent job. I'll dive in a little bit later into who, at least I personally think the White Sox should hire, because that's a mailbag question. But
yeah,
but I mean, I've seen reports of Skip Shoemaker down in Miami is apparently highly in consideration, which I don't know about that one, but it's also Reinsdorf, so why not? Ozzie Guillen has talked nonsense at this
Oh
point
my
about how he
God.
wants to manage again, which
Come on,
no,
Ozzy.
if we thought Tony La Russa was a legacy hire, like
Ugh.
Ozzie Guillen is about to take the game back to 2010 and want to fight
Yeah, maybe
everybody.
they
So
can.
no.
Maybe they can dig Tony La Russa out of mothballs again.
Uh, Tony, for your own health, like I'm concerned about your health at this point. If Jerry
Yeah.
Reinsdorf calls you, don't pick up the phone.
Yes. Yeah. Don't. Send him straight to voicemail. Anyways, we'll talk more about our thoughts for who the White Sox should hire as their next manager. But yeah, no, I think it's a safe bet that Grady Sizemore is not going to get consideration for the full-time job. Mostly because he doesn't have any managerial experience whatsoever. But yeah, no, this is just yeah. I come on, White Sox. Like I just don't. There's, like I said, there's a right way to handle this and a wrong way to handle this, and they handled this the wrong way. And but this is the climate we've got in sports where, the and again, I know as a manager, I know that some of the blame falls on the manager, but what I how do you not, if you're running, I mean, Jerry Reinsdorf is Jerry Reinsdorf, but if you're the front office, like if you're general manager Chris Getz, like how do you not look in the mirror? Because to me, if you're gonna fire Pedro Grifol for this train wreck, and that's an insult to train wrecks, like how do you not also fire the person in charge of constructing the roster, Chris Getz?
Yeah, I mean, at this point though, his seat's got to be it's got to be hot. I mean, if Grifol's seat was that hot, he Getz's seat can't be far behind.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and maybe they will. Maybe they will make a change to GM because they sure as hell should. But again, sure, a fair share of blame falls on the GM whose job is quite literally to construct the roster. But that also goes, a GM can only construct a competitive roster if the owner, in this case Jerry Reinsdorf, uh basically, gives them adequate funds to do so. So make no mistake, ladies and gents, this is not a Pedro Grifol problem. This is not a Chris Getz problem. This is a Jerry Reinsdorf problem. And Carson, I think we talked about a while ago about the White Sox and their stadium situation. Still playing at, what is it? US Guaranteed Rate Field. Yeah, that's right. It used to be US Cellular Field. Yeah, we talked about their stadium situation. They've been playing in this freaking stadium since 1991. Like, and with no indication of any time soon of being, of moving on to better, to greener pastures, as it were. I obviously no one's a worse owner in baseball than John Fisher of the Oakland A's, but I got to tell you, man, Jerry Reinsdorf has got to be in that conversation.
Oh, for worst owner, absolutely. Like if not dominating the conversation at this point, because there's two. He's not only running one franchise into the ground; he's running two of them. Into the ground.
Yeah. Also, the man responsible for getting rid of Phil Jackson, and breaking up the Bulls, super team. Yeah, you suck, Reinsdorf. But anyways, would say that Oakland A's fans have it the worst as far as, in terms of baseball fans right now. But I know they're your division rivals, but I mean, you got to agree that White Sox fans are going through it too.
Oh yeah, at this point, I feel bad for him. It's just
Yeah.
sad, man. I mean, shout out to the Oakland Athletics though, for who will forever be known as the team who lost to the White Sox on their historic losing streak. Well
Yeah,
done,
right.
geniuses. But yeah, and I mean, even as we speak, after hiring Grady Sizemore, they've now lost 3 in a row again. So it's just, man, it's rough to
Well,
be a White Sox fan right now.
funny how that happens.
Gee, it's
Yeah.
almost like that wasn't the entire problem.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it sucks to be a White Sox fan right now. I feel for you guys. And I know, Reinsdorf and his brain trust probably, but look, we won the World Series in 2005, even though that was 20 years ago. It's almost like they're still dining out on that. Like, oh well, we brought you a World Series title 20 years ago. Why are you so unhappy?
Yeah, and I mean, not even that. Not to to kind of segue into what we're talking about next. They even lost at the trade deadline. How do you do that?
Did they ever? Yeah. And part of that talking, if we're dishing out blame, Garrett Crochet and his, insistence on being signed to an extension if he was traded, pretty much tanked, and we talked about this before the deadline, that pretty much tanked any chance he had of being traded.
Yep, and that's why, as we kind of see, as we've kind of segued ourselves into the trade deadline winners and losers. For me, Garrett Crochet is the biggest loser of this trade deadline. You absolutely backed yourself into a corner. You absolutely shot yourself in the foot. You could have had a chance to go to a contender to truly prove yourself in getting out of Chicago, to truly have a chance to prove yourself. But I think you knew what would have happened had you done that. So you backed yourself into a corner, shot yourself into a foot, so you could keep looking like the great pitcher that you are, because you're playing on the worst team in Major League Baseball history. You are the Garrett Crochet. Congratulations. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yeah, to say nothing of Luis Robert Jr., who also is still stuck in Chicago.
Yeah, talk about a loser at the trade deadline. Poor Luis Robert. He didn't do anything wrong. They decided to stick around with him. And again, all of this accumulates to the White Sox being massive losers at the trade deadline. Sure, they got rid of some of the guys that they needed to get rid of in Eric Fetty, being kind of the big one. Tommy Pham, Michael Kopech, they were able to kind of package into that whole.
Yeah,
Eric
but they didn't get anything. They hardly got anything back for those guys.
Yeah, all of them combined, it's like, all right, we're going to trade away like 4 pieces of like our giant prospect pool that we had at one point for a bag of chips.
Yeah.
And, even that bag of chips has one thing in common with Jerry Reinsdorf. Half of it's full of hot air.
I knew it. I knew that's where you were going with that.
But I mean, man, just you have an opportunity where guys like Yusei Kikuchi are fetching 3 of the Astros' top like 15 prospects. You have a seller's market, and that's the return you're getting for some of these guys. I don't know if that says more about the White Sox as an organization. I don't know if that says more about their player development. I don't know if it says more about the players this season where their trade value was that low, but for me, the White Sox organization as a whole is the biggest loser of this trade deadline.
Yeah, in terms of teams, I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I get not wanting to trade, Garrett Crochet, who I guess you could classify as a star player, although, we haven't, to me, he hasn't really proven himself. Sure, he's having a great year this year, but, can he do that again next year? And Luis Rivera Jr., I get not wanting to part with those players, but also, like we were just talking about, this White Sox team, they're, spoiler alert, White Sox fans, your team is not going to be any good anytime soon. So why not move some of these players? And they did move some, but why not, and I know Garrett Crochet basically torpedoed the whole thing with his, demand for an extension, but why not trade Luis Rivera Jr. with the given how high the asking prices were in this deadline, Carson, why not trade Luis Rivera Jr. and get prospects, get a haul of prospects and start the rebuild process?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get it.
mean, yeah, just you got to reload that prospect pool. And I mean, certainly they got quite a few prospects in return, but I don't know if any of them necessarily jump out to me. But I mean, yeah, we could talk about how they're losers for literally the entire trade deadline, winners and losers segment. But
yeah,
a lot of things happened. There are teams that actually did fairly well at the trade deadline. The White Sox, I think we've hammered this point in.
Yeah,
they did not.
Yeah. I guess we can stop picking on the White Sox. White Sox fans right now are going,
For now.
Okay. Yeah. White Sox fans are going, like, they're sitting there going, okay, we get it. Our team sucks. At least they can take heart in the fact that things aren't going much better on the north side of Chicago. For the Cubbies. Yeah. So trade deadline loser, a trade deadline winner. My Seattle Mariners. Hello, Randy Arozarena, Justin Turner, who I know I saw a lot of people, oh, Justin Turner, they kind of what? Why? Like, folks, Justin Turner brings, I know he's not a spring chicken anymore, but he can still swing the bat, and he brings something to the Seattle Mariners that has been desperately missing over the last few years. No, not offense, but yeah, that too. Carson, Justin Turner brings experience. More importantly, playoff and World Series experience.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a lot of experience with these deep postseason runs. A solid bat just to have,
Yep.
To have as a platoon potentially guy. Obviously, we've already, before the trade deadline happened, we talked about the Randy Arozarena move, which I love that move for both team and player. But for me, AJ, I think my biggest winner, I gotta say, I'm really impressed with what the Baltimore Orioles did. We talked a lot in the last episode about the acquisition of Seranthony Dominguez, which I think is the most underrated acquisition of the entire trade deadline. But that's not the only thing that they really did to not only help beef up their bullpen, but just beef up the team in general. Going out and getting Zach Eflin, from the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yep.
Absolutely loved that acquisition, continuing to help strengthen that rotation. Going into, let's see, I gotta find it here. I got all the trades pulled up, and I didn't think, filter them by team. Stupid. Trevor Rogers from the Marlins. Absolutely loved that trade. Paid a very steep price to get it, but again, we talked about it. This was very much a seller's market this season. A lot of guys going for things that they probably shouldn't have. The Eloy Jimenez one is the only one that I kind of have a question mark on, in terms of just, you give up Austin Hayes, who had been a pretty reliable outfielder, for a guy in Eloy Jimenez, who when healthy can be a solid bat. But again, the question there is when healthy. Obviously has a lot of injury history. Again, that's no fault of his own, but They went out and got Austin Slater as well from the Cincinnati Reds, which was a solid move. But then we get to the second of the Orioles and Phillies trades, the one that I also love, getting Gregory Soto. Talk about, you now have a absolute three-headed monster of Gregory Soto, Sir Anthony Dominguez, and Yennier Cano. No thanks. If I'm an opposing batter, I'd probably, if any one of those three guys came into the game, I'd just put down my bat and just say, strike me out, go ahead. Like, it's fine. I will happily go back to the dugout, please and thank you. But yeah, I really like what they did at this trade deadline.
Yeah, I think the Orioles did exactly what they needed to do. They looked at what they had and they looked at, okay, if we want to, if we want to build on what we did last year, won 100 games, made the playoffs for the first time in quite a while, and had a, and went on a little bit of a run. If we want to build on what we did last year, and get to where we want to go, this is what we need to do. And they did it. Some teams did not do that. I don't know if you want to save talking about your Twins until the end of the show, but I don't want to preempt your Twins rant, because I know you have a Twins rant for us.
Yeah,
we can come back. Tell you what, we'll come back to the Twins, because they did exactly nothing.
Woohoo, Trevor Richards. Oh yeah, that's the move we all wanted. Being the first relief pitcher in Twins history to have 5 walks in an inning in his first nope. I'm getting upset.
Sorry, I shouldn't have even mentioned the Twins.
No, but at the same time, though, you're right to mention the Twins, because blinding rage aside, they are absolutely one of the biggest losers of this trade deadline. Like, to have your only acquisition be Trevor Richards is absolutely ridiculous when you're in the heat of a division title.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And another team from one of the nearby, from not too far from Minnesota, Milwaukee Brewers. Just what exactly do you think you're doing? Like, one of the most surprising, impressive first halves I've ever seen. The Brewers could have really made a splash. And they just, I don't know, another impact arm behind Freddie Peralta. And instead they went out and got Frankie Montas and Aaron Savali. Right.
Yeah, I mean, the Frankie Montas one was very confusing. We have seen a steep fall off from Frankie Montas from the days of him as a Oakland Athletic. But I mean, personally, I did like the Aaron Savali move. A solid, not anybody who's going to necessarily wow you on paper in terms of the name value, but he can function as kind of that solid arm behind a Freddie Peralta. And again, just kind of helps to beef up that rotation a little bit, which is a rotation that is still pretty young. Obviously losing Corbin Burns was huge in terms of, and Aaron Savali's got some of that playoff experience from being on the Rays, being on the Guardians, during some of their more successful periods as well. So, I like that move. The Frankie Montas one is the one that was a bit puzzling, kind of been an up and down in terms of consistency. Obviously had a very rough start with his time with the New York Yankees, goes to the Reds. Now he's over to the Brewers. He's kind of become a little bit of a journeyman. So we'll see if that one works out. But personally, I really like this Aaron Savali move.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like they could have done more. I was like, oh, okay. Some other winners, the bullpens of the Padres, the D-backs, and the Kansas City Royals. Yeah, I mean, AJ Preller, say what you want about him, but, went out and got Tanner Scott. That Carson, the back end the back end of that Padres bullpen is now absolutely lethal.
Yeah, talk about a bullpen where I just sit my bat down and just patiently wait for 3 strikes to come across the plate. Yeah, and I mean,
that's gonna be a team that will be a bullpen if the Padres get into the playoffs. That's gonna be a team where you're gonna get into the later innings of a playoff game. And you're just, if you're behind by 2 or 3 runs, you're just gonna go, yeah, we're done. Stick a fork in them. Who else was it? Oh yeah. The Royals went out and they made a couple bullpen moves. Hunter Harvey, and the D-backs, who we will definitely be talking about later. No big deal. They just went out and got AJ Puck and Dylan Floro.
Yeah. First of all, hi, Dylan Floro. Why couldn't you have pitched like this when the Twins acquired you last week, jerk? But yeah, absolutely great moves by the Diamondbacks. Little surprised that they were more buyers than I thought they were going to be. I figured they'd buy, but I figured it'd be maybe, small move here and there. But no, they went out and got a couple of huge bullpen arms, kind of strengthened that bullpen. They have plenty of options at closer now. Paul Sewald has been, as of Saturday, was removed from the role.
Yeah,
so seems like
Paul's been struggling a little bit.
He's been struggling down in the desert. So it seems like, but they've got plenty of arms. AJ Puck is sure to be in that mix along with Kevin Ginkel. So they've got guys that can kind of be function in that role. Talking of teams that were confusing, AJ, for me, the Chicago Cubs had me banging my head against a wall because I could not figure out for the life of me what they were doing. Why are you guys going out and getting Isaac Paredes?
Yeah.
What? Why?
Yeah, no.
I get it
made no sense.
I get it's probably a long-term move. He's got a lot of team control, yada, yada, yada. But you think you're going to be competitive in 2 years? Because I'm not so sure about that.
I mean, they're certainly not going to be, they're not going to be competitive this year. Yeah, that was a head scratcher. All right, I've been avoiding this, and I'm just going to talk about it. Jazz Chisholm to the Yankees. I'm sorry, but that makes no freaking really. I mean, I get it. Jazz probably wanted out of the Marlins, and I don't blame him. Oh, by the way, I think the Marlins are kind of a sneaky under the radar winner in this trade deadline because they got some serious prospects in return for Luis Ariz and Jazz Chisholm. They basically revamped their entire farm system, but I saw mostly Yankees fans, not exclusively, but mostly Yankee fans, Carson, celebrating this Jazz Chisholm move like they had just signed, the clone of Derek Jeter. And I get it. People like Jazz Chisholm. He's an exciting player to watch, but I don't get the hype. Jazz Chisholm to me is one of the most overrated players in baseball. And if you were looking for that, Yankees and Yankees fans, if you were looking for that one missing piece to push you over the top, Jazz Chisholm is not it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a big name move. But I don't know if that necessarily answers all of the Yankees' problems. So I mean, we've seen issues in that clubhouse. Obviously,
right, and then you bring Jazz Chisholm into the fold.
Yeah, brilliant. But obviously, we've seen issues in that clubhouse throughout the years with kind of guys of stronger personalities or some interesting paths. I mean, I just saw the other day that Domingo Germán just got selected by the Pirates. Obviously, him and Aaron Boone had quite the interesting end to their relationship. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, very interesting move. But I've put off talking about this long enough. AJ, let's talk about my Dodgers, shall we? And what they did at this trade deadline. Because my goodness, This was an absolute Dodger masterclass. I mean, you've got to be kidding me with some of the guys that they were able to acquire. Some of the guys they were able to acquire and some of the guys that, what they had to give up. This was an absolute Brandon Gomes, like masterclass. I mean, you go out and you get one of the best arms of the deadline in Jack Flaherty for what? For your number 8 prospect in Lorenzo and number 22 in Trey Sweeney. Like, that's nothing. I mean, Ahmed Rosario, another solid depth piece. And that big 3-team trade. I mean, Tommy Edman, when healthy, is a solid player. Again, when healthy. But, Michael Kopech, the Dodgers have been able to develop pitchers who were, kind of coming in and not having such a great, have had a few down years like there's no tomorrow. They've been able to do that just fine. Kevin Kiermaier, a great addition for that outfield. I mean, an absolute master class from Brandon Gomes and the rest of the front office.
All that to just lose in the first round of the playoffs again.
Nah, not this year. This team's they're built different this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, how many times have we heard that in the last 5 years? Oh, this is you know what? Dodgers fans are starting to sound like pre-2004 Red Sox fans. This is the year, guys. This is the year. I can feel it. We're gonna win it all this year, and then I'm okay. I will give credit where credit's due. Jack Flaherty
by Andrew Friedman. Mwah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I will give credit where credit's due. Jack Flaherty, yes, great move. Obviously, the dude can miss bats with the best of them, and he doesn't give up a lot of walks. Probably the biggest starting pitcher moved at the deadline, because in a deadline where seemingly no big names moved, which I'll talk about in a second. Obviously, Jack Flaherty, what he brings to that rotation, especially considering the other 2 names at the top of your October rotation are an over-the-hill Clayton Kershaw, who just came back from yet another major surgery, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who is essentially, he's not a rookie, but he's a rookie in Major League Baseball. So Jack Flaherty obviously bolsters that. And I guess the Tommy Edman, injury concerns there. Ahmed Rosario, sure, those guys can fill in some spots in their lineup. And yeah, Michael Kopech could end up shining in that bullpen. I don't know. Okay, fine. I will admit that the Dodgers are one of the deadline winners. But come on, Dodgers, we've done this before. We've done this dance before. We've all seen this movie before. Carson, with all the spending they did in the offseason, obviously getting Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and now these moves, you got to show me something, Dodgers. This is, talk about put up or shut up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you there with that
is a ton
pieces they now have in place. Dave Roberts, let's go. It's time. Let's go.
There's so much pressure on the Dodgers now. So much pressure on them. I know I joke about the Dodgers and I rag on the Dodgers, but all kidding aside, there is so much pressure on this team. If they don't, anything short of winning the World Series is a failure, and will cost Dave Roberts his job.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, I mean, good luck with that, guys, because just so much pressure. Yeah, so I kind of hinted at we're talking about deadline winners and losers. Carson, I would make the argument that us, the fans, who were, especially us, being baseball mega geeks and how excited we get about the trade deadline, I would make the argument that us, the fans, were the losers of this deadline, the biggest losers of this deadline. Does anybody remember last year when Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer got dealt? There was no to me, there was no blockbuster deal this year. No last second, no last second big deal with involving star players that happened, right, that happened right under the wire. The Blue Jays didn't trade Vlad Guerrero, didn't trade Bo Bichette, didn't trade Chris Bassett or any of their control blasts. They did trade why am I forgetting his name?
Yusei Kikuchi,
right. They did trade Yusei Kikuchi to the Astros, which, okay, that doesn't move the needle at all for Houston, but all right. The Oakland A's, Mason Miller, not traded. Brent Rooker, not traded. The Giants didn't trade Blake Snell. The Mets accidentally got good and got too good to trade Pete Alonso. The Tigers, no Tarek Skubal, not traded. Garrett Crochet, Luis Robert, we talked about them. They all stayed put. This deadline was kind of a snooze fest.
Yeah, it was not necessarily the big name trade deadline that I think we're all used to, but it was still a deadline that was very busy, very active.
Oh yeah,
every single team made a trade, at least
That's
one.
true.
So that's a pretty. I'd still say that's a pretty active trade deadline when there was one team remaining on Tuesday that hadn't made a deal yet, and of course that was my Minnesota Twins, but we'll cross that bridge later on because oh boy, stick around for that. But yeah, I mean, I still think it may not have been necessarily the big names that we were expecting, but it was still very active, very busy trade deadline.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was active, but it was just kind of, I mean, I don't know about you, but I was sitting there on deadline day and just constantly refreshing my feed, my Twitter feed, and waiting to see, Garrett Crochet or Luis Robert Jr. or Vladdy, or Blake Snell or any of those big name players I just mentioned, just waiting to see them pop up on my feed as having been traded, and just nothing. Like, okay. And I don't really know why that didn't happen. The one thing that I noticed was the one thing that I kept seeing, all the pundits, the Ken Rosenthal's and all the pundits talk about was how high prices were for those big name players. That these teams with these big name players that could have been moved, they just wanted too much.
Yep.
Which to me makes it all the more impressive that teams like, that the Mariners were able to swing a deal for Randy Arozarena. Like, what? And that the Dodgers went out and got Jack Flaherty. And I don't know why the asking price was so high for some of these big name players. I don't know if you have a theory on it, but I kind of feel like it's because teams are starting to put more and more emphasis on their prospect pools, on their farm systems.
Yeah, and I mean, because of that too, I think that's why we potentially may see more seller markets. we may see more sellers markets, and we may see more top guys that are on rebuilding teams stay put because these asking prices could start to get exorbitant. We kind of saw it already with apparently some of the asking prices that were out there were pretty high for some of the guys who ended up staying put. And we saw a guy, like, again, I hate to keep coming back to him as an example, but Yusei Kikuchi fetching a top 10 prospect in a team's organization. Like, there's no way that at this point in his career, as good of a pitcher as he is, there's no way that Yusei Kikuchi should be fetching a top 10 prospect in an organization. Like,
no. But I think that comes back to the, as far as the farm systems. I think, again, I'm totally spitballing here, but I think what we're seeing is other teams are looking at teams like, perfect example. They're looking at last year's Texas Rangers. They're looking at a team. Sure, the Rangers obviously did some spending in free agency. And they went out and got Max Scherzer, and Gordon Montgomery. So they obviously did do some spending in free agency, but they built a World Series championship team. A lot of that team was built through prospects, through their farm system. And another good example, the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles have their farm system is the envy of Major League Baseball. And I just think other teams are starting to look at teams like the Rangers and the Orioles, or last year's Diamondbacks. That's another great example of a team that built through their farm system. They're looking at these teams and they're going, we need to be doing that.
Yeah.
Because it gets results, obviously. The Rangers won the World Series. The Orioles won 100 games and went to the playoffs for the first time in forever. The Diamondbacks, the run the Diamondbacks went on last year. I think there's been a shift in the philosophy, whereas in the past it was spend, trade, sign. And we'll obviously have to wait and see if it becomes a trend, but I think we've seen a shift.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're 100% right. There has been a shift these past few years into teams wanting to more so, keep their prospects in-house, mature these guys, let them at least get up to the majors. And maybe then if you're starting to struggle a little bit, sure, maybe then. But yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to see more of a seller's market as we continue to move forward. I think we're going to see more of potentially these big name guys staying put if teams don't get what they're asking for.
Yep. And I think another thing, and I don't know if this is going to happen, but I know we talked about it, and I know it's being talked about, the possibility of letting teams trade draft picks like in the other major leagues. That would be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you'd see, and I think that would open things up in terms of the trade market, because then teams would be able to offer draft picks in addition to prospects, or trade a player and package those players with a draft, with a first round pick, like we see in the other, pretty much all the other major, NHL, the NFL, it happens all the time. And the NBA to a lesser extent, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Something else that's going to be interesting is just real quick. Something else that's going to be interesting is this winter in free agency. Because wow, folks, some of the names on this list. Paul Goldschmidt, Pete Alonso, Rhys Hoskins, Christian Walker, Jorge Polanco, Alex Bregman, Matt Chapman, Justin Turner, Eugenio Suarez, Willie Adames, Ahmed Rosario, and I mean this list of wow. This list of free agents this winter is going to be so the trade market might not have been as exciting with the big names as maybe some of us were hoping, but fear not, because I have the oddest feeling that this winter in free agency is going to be even more nuts than last winter was.
Yeah, agreed.
Especially with all those players, the Scott Boras clients who all signed these, extremely player-friendly deals, who are probably all going to opt out this winter. So definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely. Should be fun.
Yeah. All right, let's play some buy or sell. Leading off buy or sell, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Wow. Wow. Yeah. The Arizona Diamondbacks, you all know I was, I drove the D-backs bandwagon all last year, and don't look now, ladies and gentlemen, but they're doing it again. So Carson, buy or sell that the Diamondbacks are the hottest team in baseball right now?
Sell, because it's the San Diego Padres who have won 7 in a row and 9 out of their last 10.
Yeah. I can't. That is a really good. That I can't really argue with that. The Padres are looking really good. And oh, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to peruse the National League West standings as of late, Carson, your precious Dodgers are clinging to a 2.5 game lead.
Hey, we'll be all right. We'll be good. We'll be good.
Yeah, they're still the wild card, right? Oh man.
Hey, we'll be all right. We'll be.
Imagine, how awesome, how hilarious would it be if the Dodgers, after all their spending and all their wheeling and dealing, end up as a wild card team? They don't even win the division after all that.
You know what? Even better, because then when we win the World Series, nobody can say that they didn't go through adversity.
That's fair. No, but in terms of when I first looked at this, I went, of course the Diamondbacks are the hottest team in baseball. It's a no-brainer. But yeah, I can't argue. I do. I'm sorry, Diamondbacks fans. I'm still there with you guys. I'm still driving the bandwagon. But yeah, the San Diego Padres are, 9 out of the last 10, 7 in a row. Steadily climbing up the standings, creeping up on the Dodgers. And if you're a Dodgers fan, remember, objects in the mirror are larger than they appear. And the Padres and the Diamondbacks are firmly occupying 2 of the 3 NL wildcard spots. Oh dear. Look at the Braves and the Mets. Uh-oh, Braves. Uh-oh. Speaking of which, seamless segue. Carson, buy or sell that the Atlanta Braves will not, I repeat, will not make the playoffs.
I'm gonna buy this. The thing I keep coming back to is, they didn't really do a lot to improve at the trade deadline. Cool, you got Jorge Soler back. Like that's a move, I guess, but yeah. It feels like these other teams in the NL have gotten better. The Mets went out and got Jesse Winkler, they got Paul Blackburn, and they're nipping at the Braves' heels. Yes, they've lost two in a row and are 4-6 in their last 10, but guess what? So are the Braves. So that thing is far from locked up. So and with all these injuries and everything, I don't know if the Braves are going to be able to stay afloat. I'm gonna buy this.
Yeah, and also, well, I don't want to. Yes, no, I'm buying this too. Too many injuries. Too many injuries for the Braves. I mean, it was bad enough. Uh, you know, I mean, it was bad enough when they started losing pitchers, and then you lost Ronald Acuna Jr. And it's just continued to snowball. Too many injuries for the Braves. Mets have seemingly figured things out. And hence why we didn't see Pete Alonso moved at the deadline. And but yeah, I mean the Mets are only a half game behind the Braves. Yeah, no, I don't think the Braves make it. I think your three wild card teams end up being well, the Mets are gonna be a wild card team because I don't think what's going on in the NL East here? Yeah. I mean the Mets are 8 games behind the Phillies, and the Phillies haven't exactly been on fire as of late. I don't know. It might be a bit of a long shot to think that the Mets could catch the Phillies in the NL East, but the Mets are going to get in. So rejoice, Mets fans. Your team's going to be playing October baseball again for the first time in a little while here. So Blake Snell, he of the recent no-hitter. Buy or sell, Carson, that Blake Snell has returned to form.
Absolutely buy this. We needed to see something like a hitter out of Blake Snell in his last 7 games of two wins, a 1.65 ERA in his last 7 with a 0.71 whip, which is absolutely a huge turnaround. Obviously a no-hitter will always help boost your confidence. So 100%, and he's doing it at the right time for the Giants, who are firmly in the race for that third wild card spot as well. So 100%, I'll buy this.
Yeah, if only the Giants had gone out and actually done something meaningful at the deadline and decided, which direction they're going in. Yeah, so since returning from his second stint on the injured list on July 9th, Snell has a 0.55 ERA. No, that's not a typo. With 41 strikeouts and only 10 walks. That is pretty impressive. And then you throw the no-hitter on top of it. Yeah, I would. I think I would. I think I would buy this. I think Blake Snell is back to being Blake Snell. He got off to a really rough start this year, but yeah, he seems to have turned it around, and here's hoping that the Giants, the Giants get into the playoffs somehow. I mean, they're only a game and a half out of a wild card spot. And hopefully we see Blake Snell get a chance to pitch in October again. So, all right, this last one's a tough one. Mike Trout. Mike Trout obviously has been dealing with some injury issues, not just this year, but in years past. So he suffered an injury and hurt his knee and was out for a while, and then was in the midst of a rehab assignment. And then in the midst of his rehab assignment, Carson tore his meniscus again. So I almost hate to even ask this, but I think it needs talking about. Buy or sell that Mike Trout will retire this winter.
No, my heart refuses to believe it. Sell. He'll come back. He'll be fine. A torn meniscus isn't great, but he'll be fine. I just need to see Mike Trout play some October baseball. Please. That's all I need. Like, do it once and then retire. That's fine. But
I mean, that's only going to happen if he leaves the Angels.
which, boy, oh boy, I hope he does.
Which, given the comments he made this year about, that, and yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. We need to see Mike Trout. The best thing that could happen to Mike Trout is and we've talked about it before. I admire the hell out of his loyalty to the Angels. But if he comes back from this latest injury, because let's be honest, like, this isn't his first time. This isn't his first time being hurt like this. It kills me to do it, but I think I have to buy this.
No.
I know. It kills it. It makes me physically ill to do it. But Mike, come on, dude. You're 33. You're not exactly a spring chicken anymore. This is multiple injuries now. And the only reason I say that is just for the simple fact that, and those of us of a certain age will know what I'm talking about. As you get older, it's harder to recover from injury, and 2 meniscus tears within just months of each other. It's a lot. It's a tall act. Now, for the record, I don't want Mike Trout to retire. I want him to come back healthy. I want him to realize that, hey, I'm running out of time here. I need to go play for a contending team. And even if he's got to force his way out of LA, do it. Go to a contending team and get a shot at a ring. But it's a tall ask. It's a tall order.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, that's just the reality of it. And also, as much as we want those things, and I'm sure as much as Mike Trout wants, to go play somewhere competitive and have a chance to win a championship, as we've seen with, the case with other players in the past, not just baseball, he's got to think about his health first and foremost.
Right. Exactly.
So hopefully not. Hopefully he comes back. He's fine. He's healthy. And some way, somehow, we get to see Mike Trout play October baseball again and have a shot at a championship. Otherwise, he's in danger of joining what I like to call the Reggie Miller Club, of best players who've never won a championship. So, anyways. All right. Well, that was a bit of a downer. Sorry, everybody. Let's move on to the mailbag. We sort of hinted at this one earlier. Remember, if you would like to have a chance to get your mailbag message read on the show, drop us a line at eighthinningpod.com/mailbag or eighthinningstretch@gmail.com. We kind of hinted at this one earlier, leading off from Alex B. Who would you hire as the White Sox next manager?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of foreshadowing a little bit what I foresee happening potentially in the manager cycle. But AJ, call me crazy, but there's one guy who I think may be out there. Oliver
Dave
Marmol.
Roberts.
No.
mean,
although if he is, absolutely
Dave Roberts will be looking for a job this winter, folks.
But if he is, absolutely scoop him up. But I have kind of two immediate names that come to mind. I think there's a good chance, potentially, depending on what happens with their season this year, I think Oliver Marmol might be available. And I think that also John Schneider is more likely going to be available. But out of those two, Oliver Marmol, if I'm Chris Getz, if I'm Jerry Reinsdorf, if I figure out he's on the open market, I am literally calling that man's phone within 10 seconds of me finding out that he's on the open market. I think he'd be able to do wonders for that team. Would bring a new attitude into the clubhouse, which is very much needed. Seemed to like players were kind of starting to revolt against Pedro Grifo later on. A guy who very much sticks up for his players is Oliver Marmol, a guy who can very much mold talent. You know, we've seen what he's done with some of those young guys in St. Louis. We've seen what he's done with some of those guys who are a lot like in Chicago, guys who have all the potential in the world, but have an injury history, and how he's been able to kind of work them into that lineup. I think that Oliver Marmol would be a perfect fit for the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, I like it. I'll be honest, Ollie Marmol's name hadn't crossed my mind. So just for the record, you're not a fan of the Skip Schumacher move.
If it turned out to be Skip Schumacher, I would not be a fan. Simply considering the roster that he had put together in Miami and what he's been able to do with it, which is AKA not much.
Right. Again, speaking of managers who were put in a basically impossible situation, Skip Schumacher. I don't know how I feel about Schumacher fitting with the White Sox. I don't know if I buy that. I really like Ollie Marmol. I hadn't thought of Ollie Marmol, but I think I really like that. I don't know though. Like, I feel like, okay, obviously the White Sox, they need someone who can sort of bring that clubhouse back together. They need someone who is good at helping develop talent, which Ollie Marmol definitely fits that bill. But I don't know, man. I think they need to go. I don't know if they'll do this because of Reinsdorf, but I think they need to go outside of the box. I'll throw a name out there for you, and I don't know. I don't know if this person is going to manage again. I haven't seen a definitive answer. But Terry Francona.
You know, he was a name that kind of came up in my mind, but I think health wise he just needs to stay away.
You're right. I honestly don't. As much as I would love to see Tito manage again somewhere, his health concerns. So I'm actually looking at this article of what is 10 interesting candidates for the next manager of the White Sox. Skip Schumacher, AJ Pierzynski. Are you freaking kidding me?
Please, no.
Please, God, no. Let him continue to do that horrible podcast. No. Pierzynski, no. Some AA managers mentioned, Terry Francona. Let's see, who else do we got here? Why didn't I think of this person? Former Chicago Cubs manager David Ross.
I
like it.
I don't hate that.
I think David Ross got screwed by the Cubs at the end of the 2023 season. He damn near got that team to the playoffs, and the Cubs just, see you later, bye. And I'll be honest with all of you, I was shocked that he didn't get a managerial job this year.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. Wow, there are a lot of names on this list. I think David Ross is a good fit. John Schneider, maybe. I mean, I know I joked about it But if Dave Roberts, well, first of all, if Dave Roberts is, shall we say, relieved of his managerial duties after the season, do we even think he manages again next year?
I don't know.
I mean, Dave Roberts isn't a spring chicken anymore either. So, like,
yeah, I don't know.
I don't even know if he, yeah. Yeah, I don't even know if he manages again. Yeah, man, it keeps everywhere. Skip Schumacher. I don't see it. I don't see it. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Oh god, AJ Przinsky again? No, get the freak out of here. That would be a horrible choice. Although I have to admit, as much of it that would be an epically bad choice. But you know something?
I'd watch those press conferences.
Yeah, that too. But that is so on brand for Jerry Reinsdorf. That is exactly the kind of idiotic move Reinsdorf would make.
Very true.
And also, yes, his post-game press conferences would be must-see TV. And I'm pretty sure he would break the record for all-time managerial ejections in a season.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be an absolute train wreck, but I could actually see it because that is exactly the kind of boneheaded move Jerry Reinsdorf would make. So, yeah, anyways, that's going to be interesting. Any chance, I know we said no, but any chance Grady Sizemore catches on?
I don't think so.
I really, no offense to Grady Sizemore. Grady Sizemore is still one of my favorite players that I've ever watched. But I still don't understand that. All right, Laura W. Hey guys, not sure how much more of this back and forth I can take between my Orioles and the Yankees, so please call the AL East race for me now.
Laura, say no more. I am very impressed with your Orioles.
Wait, 1, 2, 3. We're gonna do this at the same time. We're gonna on 3. Okay. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Orioles.
Did we both say Orioles?
We did.
Oh yes, thank you. I was worried you were gonna say Yankees. I thought you were gonna say Yankees.
I keep coming back to the trade deadline. The Orioles massively improved, where the Yankees not so much. So,
no, the Yankees. I was not impressed by the Yankees deadline at all. Not one bit. I mean, talk about a race though. I get where Laura's coming from because this thing has really been back and forth. Currently, the Orioles are in first place by 1 game. 1.
Yeah.
Both teams have won 6 out of the last 10. I mean, I know it's a long shot, but I mean, good on my Red Sox for only being 7.5 games back, considering where they've been and what they've gone through. So, I think ultimately the Orioles end up doing it. And yeah, what like we've been talking about with the deadline the Orioles had and Carson and what they already had before the deadline. Yeah, watch out for the Orioles in October.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, by the way, I would like to remind everybody that I picked the Orioles to win the American League pennant. So, not the World Series, mind you. Sorry, Laura, but and Baltimore, but I think the Orioles win the American League. Though my Mariners may have something to say about that. We'll see. Noah M. You can only have one player on your team for a lifetime deal. Bobby Witt Jr. or Aaron Judge. Which one do you pick?
For me, this isn't even hard. I'm taking Bobby Witt Jr. for
What?
yes, but here's why. If I'm talking about a lifetime deal, lifetime could mean anything, right? Because we're talking basically until they retire.
Sure.
Bobby
yeah.
Witt Jr. is much younger than Aaron Judge. He is
Fair.
still on his way to his peak. I don't think he's done developing yet.
Mm-mm.
So if I can get a young guy like Bobby Witt Jr., who's not even done yet and is still developing and build around him, I'm taking that to the bank.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. is only 24. So.
Yeah, he's the same age as he's younger than me.
Yeah, and Aaron Judge is what? 30. Oh, wow. Aaron Judge is 32? Okay, that doesn't seem possible. I didn't think Aaron Judge was that old. I mean, I say old, 32. But in baseball terms, in athlete terms, 32 is, I'm stunned into silence because it's a good thing I didn't bet on your answer because I would have lost, because I thought for sure you were going to say Aaron Judge. But yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. No disrespect whatsoever to Aaron Judge, even though he plays for the team that I have loathed for as long as I can remember. But yeah, Bobby Witt Jr., folks. Bobby Witt Jr. hasn't even we haven't even begun to see what Bobby Witt Jr. is capable of.
No.
This kid is going to be an absolute superstar. It seems, at least right now, for now, it seems like he's going to be a Kansas City Royal for his whole career.
Yeah.
Which also we haven't even begun to see what the Kansas City Royals are going to do here in the next few years. This team is going to be very good for a very long time. They're going to be a fixture in the American League for a while. So, all right. Dave H. After they dominated the Braves, do you think the Brewers are good enough to make a deep October run?
I still say no. I like what they did in terms of moves. I like how the team's constructed, but just that Central Division is weak, man. Like
It is.
It's pretty weak. I mean, they have an 8-game lead over the Cardinals right now, and the Cardinals are hovering around 500. There are only 2 teams in that division who are above 500 right now. So I don't know. I mean, I've certainly been impressed with how they've gone this year, especially without having Corbin Burns. I did not think they would be this successful, but I don't think so.
No, and I don't think, when we kind of talked about this, but I don't think they did even nearly enough at the deadline.
Yeah.
They just kind of, which I really don't understand. Like you're having this awesome season that seemingly came out of nowhere, in a year where your division is just, a down year for the NL Central. The Cubs are bad. The Pirates are the Pirates. The Reds haven't had the year that a lot of people thought they would. The Cardinals are kind of a mess. And I mean, this was the Brewers. This was their opportunity to really go out and make a splash at the deadline and make some moves and make themselves better and set themselves up for a run, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
So no, deep October run. I mean, they're definitely gonna get into the playoffs. Because that NL Central is just so bad. But deep run, no, I don't see it. And real quick, one bonus mailbag question here. Actually from several of you. Carson, our fans would like to know how we feel about this MLB game, this Braves Reds game to be played at Bristol Motor Speedway next August.
Honestly, that sounds cool in theory. Like I'm curious to see how the layout will work, because I don't know if that's necessarily the best place to have a baseball game, but it's certainly going to be something to watch.
So there's a rendering here, and basically what they've done is, and I don't know if this is like the final configuration, but basically what they've done is they've put the field in the in the infield of the speedway, so like smack in the middle, normally where like the garages and stuff would be. Like where at Bristol, Bristol's so small that they usually park like when NASCAR's there, they park the haulers, the trucks in the infield. So basically what they've done is it looks like they're going to put the field where that would be. I don't hate it, but there aren't going to be very many good seats.
No.
So they've got the baseball field in the middle with, it looks like some stands, like bleachers around it, almost like it's sort of like a minor league. If any of you have been to like a AAA, a minor league game where the stands they go behind home plate and up the baselines, but they don't go all the way, around. And then you've just got these, 150 whatever thousand people sitting in the speedway stands. Well, I'll say this: if you're planning on going to this thing, bring your binoculars.
Very true. Yeah.
I don't really feel one way or another about it. I just kind of, why though? I don't, like, there are better places. So let me get this straight, Major League Baseball. You couldn't make the international series happen next year. So we're not getting any international games next year. We were supposed to have games in Paris next year. We're not getting any. Well, I mean, I guess we're getting the opening series in Japan. But other than that, we're not getting any of the international games. We're not getting Dominican Republic. We're not getting Puerto Rico. We're not getting Paris. We're not getting any of that stuff. And this was their brilliant idea to replace those international games. Let's play a game at Bristol Speedway.
Yeah, definitely an interesting choice.
It's certainly a choice. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just, man, this is a Rob Manfred idea, Carson, if I've ever seen one.
Mm-hmm.
This reeks of Rob Manfred. I mean, I guess they're definitely going to set the all-time attendance record for a baseball game.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, I mean, couldn't we have had another game? Couldn't we have played at Rickwood Field in Birmingham again? Like, I'd rather have that instead of this.
Yeah.
Like the game at Rickwood was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. This is about as out there as the NFL playing a game in Brazil. Like, okay. Anyways, yeah. So just weird, I guess. I just don't get it. But okay, whatever. We're going with it, I guess. Anyways, that's the mailbag. thank you guys all so much for sending in your messages to eighth-inningpod.com/mailbag and eighth-inning-stretch@gmail.com. And please, we mentioned at the top of the show, we'll mention it again. Let us know how where you guys weigh in on MLB in the 2028 Olympics. I knew with the poll question, but Carson, I'd be really interested to hear how our fans feel about the idea of MLB players playing in the Olympics and also how that would affect the season.
Yes. Speaking of the Olympics, by the way, just want to give a quick shout out to the women's basketball team who defeated France today to earn our 40th gold medal and lock up the Paris Olympics for Team USA.
Oh, did we officially clinch the most gold medals or something?
We have 40. China has 40, but we dominated in terms of the medal count, so we win by tiebreaker.
They did win a lot of medals. Yes. Well done, Team USA. Even if there was a distinct lack of drama in the basketball competition, thank you, NBA. Come on, like, am I the only one that really wanted to see Wemby win the gold in front of his home crowd? Like,
yes,
yeah, I really, really wanted to see that.
Yeah, but I'm good. I'm good with us winning gold. Anthony Edwards, well done.
Oh, I am the only one that wanted to see Wemby. Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough.
No, yeah, I was not with you on that. I wanted to see I wanted to see Anthony Edwards do to Rudy Gobert what Kobe Bryant did to Pau Gasol, where they talked about it in the Redeem Team, where they just said, Kobe said, I'm running through his effing chest.
So we had the Dream Team, we had the Redeem Team, and this team was what? The boring team?
According to LeBron, they are the Avengers.
Oh my God! Yeah,
which I mean, like he's not wrong. Like
more like
that team
Thanos.
Is stacked.
More like Thanos, but okay. No, I know it sounds like I'm hating on. No, look, I love team. I root for Team USA and. Everything from basketball to, cornhole. And, folks, trust me, nobody loves this country as much as I do. I think it's the greatest country in the world and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, but come on. And I get wanting to have, I get that you want to have the best players and therefore the NBA take part in the Summer Olympics or the NHL in the Winter Olympics. Although the NHL is a little different because players are spread out more, country-wise. But if we had always been letting these, the pro athletes play in the Olympics, Carson, we wouldn't have had, we never would have gotten the greatest sports moment of the 20th century, the Miracle on Ice.
Very true.
Wouldn't have happened. That 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team was a bunch of college kids. They were a bunch of amateurs that had never played together. And they pulled off the greatest upset in sports history. And I don't know. Mixed feelings. Like, sure, I'm happy that they won the goals. And as far as the women's team go, since you brought that up, Caitlin Clark got straight up snubbed.
I still don't think she did, but
travesty that Caitlin Clark was not on that team. But okay, I mean, anyways, all right. Real quick, some must-watch games. Let's see, what have we got coming up? I don't know, man. I almost feel I don't think we're there quite yet, but I almost feel like we're getting into every game as much, well, not every game, but most games are must-watch games as we get down to the wire here in the playoff race. But that being said, starting Tuesday, for one, we've got your Royals, your Twins taking on the Royals. That's a biggie, obviously.
Yeah, huge.
That's big. In terms of the division race there in the AL Central. Not really. Braves, Giants. That's pretty big. Got my Red Sox playing host to the defending World Series champ Rangers. That's a biggie. What have we got going on later in the week? Let's see. Red Sox, Orioles. Ooh, Twins and Rangers starting on Thursday. And then on Friday. Wow, we're kind of lacking in the matchup department.
Yeah, not the greatest. Not the greatest.
Yeah, we're kind of lacking considering we're mid-August and we've only got what, a month and a half to go. Wow. Okay, MLB schedule makers. Yeah, there's not a lot. Anyways, Carson, do you have a tankathon for us?
Oh, yes, we do. AJ, I mentioned it a couple episodes ago, but anytime you see MLB.TV free game of the day, especially at this point in the season, there's a good chance it's either considered for a tankathon or will be a tankathon. And
yes,
boy, howdy, has MLB.TV provided, starting on Monday, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim of California are taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. So if you want to see a matchup of two teams that are quite poopy, go watch that series.
That is pretty bad. I mean, the Blue Jays are so much fun to watch, though, with Vladdy and Bo Bichette. Yeah, funny how most of those free games always end up being clunkers.
Yeah, funny how that works.
It's almost like they put bad games as their free game on purpose. Yeah, that's interesting. What was that? What was that thing about? Oh yeah, the MLB TV. That the new package that they put out with the $9.99 a month thing. That's kind of interesting too. But now if only they would fix the damn blackouts. But I don't know, baby steps, I guess. All right, one last thing. So trying to think how we do. So we know your one last thing is a Twins rant. So you know what? I know you've had this bottled up for a while. So I will let you go first this week. And because I feel like if I don't, your head's gonna explode over there.
Well, I appreciate that. I would have certainly been more than obliged to let you go first. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've had this stored up for quite a while. And the crazy thing is, there have been plenty of other things that have happened in the news cycle that I could have made my one last thing about. I could have made it about how surreal it is that my governor is now a nominee for vice president of the United States. I could have made it about how Dave Portnoy took a break from his role of being a misogynistic, sexist D-bag and becoming an anti-American hater because Steve Kerr didn't play Jason Tatum like a spoiled little kid watching baseball when he's 5 years old. But, ladies and gentlemen, AJ, I don't know how it's taken. I'm glad it's taken me this long for this to happen, but it is time for my first Twins tirade of the season, because what in the name of God was that trade deadline or lack thereof? AJ, there was a point where I saw from Aaron Gleeman, who is the Twins beat writer for The Athletic, put out a tweet that at one point on Tuesday, the only team to have not made a trade at the trade deadline was my Minnesota Twins. But boy, did they broke it to get Trevor Richards, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Yeah, that's the thing that's going to send us over the edge. That's the thing that's going to help us defeat Cleveland in the division series. And sure, he got a save 2 days ago. Great. But let's take a look at his outings, shall we? In 2 games where they were pretty much out of hand, a 10-2 win against the White Sox and a 13-7 win against the White Sox. He came in, pitched for a couple of innings. Cool. That's fine. One of those games, he had a wild pitch. Okay, that's not great, but everybody has a wild pitch now and then. Let's take a look at his stat line against the Chicago Cubs on August 7th in an 8-2 loss, where he was handed said loss. He pitched 2 1/3 innings, 3 earned runs, 5 walks. 5 in 2 1/3, not even a full inning. In a 2/3 inning, 5 walks in 2/3 of an innings pitched. That's insane. I don't even know how you do that. I could pitch 2/3 of an inning and not walk. Like, are you kidding me? And all of this, like, the frustration that I've had on the show in the past has been twofold with the ownership and with the front office. But I feel like I can't really put anything on the front office this time around because, I feel like they've been handcuffed by what I affectionately like to call the PPPs, the penny pinching pollads, who refuse to spend any money on this team, see us get a little success, and then, we're going to blame the TV contracts for the fact that we're going to cut payroll in half. Great. You are 2.5 games, as of right now, you are 2.5 games out of the NL or the AL Central. I'm so upset I got my leagues confused. The AL Central division race. And the only thing that you do at the trade deadline is trade for Trevor Richards to help apparently aid the bullpen. What? Like, congratulations. You just got a guy who was the first relief pitcher in Twins history to walk 5 batters in a single inning. Again, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you look at the team that you've constructed and say that that's the only move you're going to allow us to make. Like, fine. You want to cut payroll? Fine. There were so many guys with expiring contracts that you could have gone out and traded for to make this team better. Because make no mistake about it, this team is not the same team that had all the success last year. We're not. Like, Pablo Lopez has been a shell of last season. There is no Sonny Gray. The starting pitching has been up and down and up and down. The offense has been up and down and up and down. Edward Julian, who was one of the best players on the team last season, is now in AAA St. Paul because he's forgotten how to hit the ball. Like, this is not the same team. And for you to sit there and look at this team that you've constructed and sit there and let's be honest, do nothing. Because Trevor Richards does not move the needle in any sense of the imagination. If anything, he moved the needle backwards. I don't even know how you do that. How you're how you're a buying team, you make a trade and people go, how did that make your team worse? How do you do that? Like, I feel like Stephen A. Like, I have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived after last season's postseason success, as has all of Twins territory. The PPPs, the penny pinching pollads, have managed to absolutely ruin this team and all of the success that we had. The attendance has gone down. Lord, and all the reports that I'm seeing is that this is not a 1-year thing. They're going to continue to keep the payroll like this, and you cannot compete. You cannot expect fans to shell out their money for jerseys, for seats, for anything if you're going to continue to do this. And Carlos Correa is eventually going to want out. Like, you have a star in Carlos Correa. You have a budding star in Royce Lewis, and you do nothing to try and build around them. You're content with the pieces that you have. And all of this is also off-season rage where, thank God, he's been able to get it together as of late. But Carlos Santana? Carlos Santana is the big off-season signing. At this point, he might as well go play guitar with the other Santana. All right? Like, he's winding down. Like, go play guitar, go retire, go record a song with Rob Thomas and be a #1 hit. Fine by me. But just Oh my God. The crazy thing is that these poll lads, AJ, are so delusional that they don't expect fans to react. They still think that everything's going to be fine. We are pissed off because you take the most successful Twins team that you've had in years and absolutely gut it to the bone, and you're still able to compete for a division. And we're all sitting here like, okay, you know what? We're competing for a division. We got to go out and do something at the trade deadline. And you do nothing. It's just the most annoying thing in the world. And talk about owners, like the worst owners in sports. I don't care. I'll put the Pohlads right up there with the Reinsdorfs and the John Fishers of the world. Because if you are an owner of a team and you see that your team is successful, not a rebuilding team that needs success, but successful, and you choose to do nothing about it, you are just as bad as the owners who can't look at a team and see that they need a rebuild.
And let's put John Henry in that conversation too. Well, Minnesota, Carson, as infuriating as your Twins are right now, you still got the T-Wolves, who are really freaking good.
Amen.
And you're about, in about 3 months here, you're about to have your governor become the vice president of the United States. So that's not too shabby either.
Yeah, at least we've got something still going.
You've got some things going for you.
Oh, I feel so much better.
That's why I let you go first. I'm like, if this man does not get this rant out right now, his head is going to explode. Well, for all of you who always complained about our One Last Things being non-baseball related, you can all switch off right about now, because I'm going to talk about something not baseball related. Obviously, the Olympics have pretty much dominated the news cycle and the sports news cycle for the last couple of weeks. As you know, that's pretty par for the course. And there's, with the Olympics, there's always stories. There's always, there's always so many stories that come out of the Olympics, and this edition wasn't any different. There was the concerns over the bacteria levels in the Seine River. There was Steve Kerr being an absolute knucklehead and flat out refusing to play Jason Tatum until the gold medal game. There was the disgusting, despicable treatment of a boxer from Algeria. But maybe the biggest, well, I don't know. Arguably the biggest and most inspiring story to come out of these Olympics was the fact that not only did Ukraine, despite an ongoing war in their country and fighting off a Russian invasion, not only did Ukraine still compete in these Olympics, they not only did they still compete, the Team Ukraine, as it were, they did pretty damn well for themselves. They're going back to they're going back home with quite the haul of medals. But the best one to me had to be the women's team saber fencing team, who won the gold medal, coming from behind to win their gold medal match. And they not only did they win the gold medal, but they did so much more for that. So much more than that. I mean, folks, the Paris the Paris crowd, the crowd at the Grand Palais where they had the fencing events, were cheering for Ukraine, and gave them such a warm, overwhelming reception. Particularly as I'm not sure if she's the team captain, but her name is, and I'm sorry if I butcher this name, her name is Olga Karlin, sort of the captain / anchor of this team. She came in for the final leg of the gold medal bout, outscored her opponent 8-2 to win the match. And as she was stepping onto the piste, the crowd was chanting her name. Just incredible. So she scored the winning touch, turned around, ripped off her mask, fell to her knees, just obviously overcome with emotion. She got up and danced on the piste, wrapped in the Ukrainian flag with her teammates. Again, I'm sorry if I butcher these names. I'm going to make a mess of these. I'm really sorry. Her teammates, Alina Kamashchuk, Olena Kravatska, and Yulia Bakastova. And honestly, the image of this team dancing and celebrating on the piste, wrapped in their country's flag, might well be the most, might well end up being the enduring image of these Paris Olympics, and also the most inspirational image of the Olympics. I mean, these are athletes from a country who, these are athletes from a country who Ukraine is going through it, folks. Obviously they're engaged in a war for they're fighting for the very survival of their country itself. Anyways, Karlin said that she motivated herself for this gold medal match with thoughts of the sacrifices made by Ukrainian troops on the front lines, and that the team dedicated its medal to them. And the fact that they were able to focus on a fencing match in Paris while knowing what their fellow Ukrainians are going through at home. It's just incredible. And it really, stuff like this really, I mean, we talk about it all the time, but stuff like this moments like these are the perfect example of how, yes, there are definitely, there are sometimes moments, and sometimes things that are bigger than sports. But and this obviously the war going on in Ukraine is way bigger than any sporting event. But the fact that these athletes were able to not only leave their homeland to go compete in Paris to represent their country, but to focus and compete at a high enough level to win a gold medal. It's incredible. Doesn't do it justice. it's actually quite, it's staggering, really. I I I just think this Ukrainian fencing team, I think, should be an inspiration to all of us. I mean, if you want to talk about a textbook example of how to overcome adversity, and obviously there's nothing like the adversity of your country quite literally fighting for its survival, but I think it still applies. That if you're facing adversity, just, and whatever that might look like, remember this Ukrainian women's saber fencing team who overcame the adversity of their country fighting for its survival to not only compete in the Olympics, not only proudly represent Ukraine, but to do it at such a high level that they were able to win a gold medal. It's incredible. It's staggering, really. It's unbelievable. And the fact that we all got to witness this, hopefully, if you haven't seen it, go do yourself a favor and look it up on YouTube. But the fact that so many of us were lucky enough to witness this moment, pretty awesome stuff. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, the fact that they could even focus on this with an absolute psychopath trying to destroy their country is incredible.
How did you even how do you even find the strength and the concentration to focus on a fencing match when you know what's going on at home?
Yeah, and AJ, I don't know if it's just me, but like I kind of want to see the ban on Russia from the Olympics lifted just so I can watch Ukraine kick their ass.
Yeah, but I don't think that's happening. That's not happening anytime soon.
No, and which is fine, but I'm just saying,
Right.
like, to have them get a little bit of vengeance on that kind of stage. Heck, to even have Brittany Griner get some of that, some of that vengeance on that kind of stage would be something else. But to watch Ukraine kick Russia's ass,
and I'm glad, obviously, the IOC did the right thing by banning Russia and Belarus for their part in this thing. I mean, the IOC 100% did the right thing in banning both those countries. But I'm glad they didn't necessarily punish the athletes, because there are, I don't know, something like 15 or 20 Russians and Belarusians competing under, as unaffiliated athletes, which I thought was really cool, because and they were only allowed in basically after attesting to the IOC that, hey, look, Putin sucks and we don't support this war at all. So yeah, I thought that was really cool, because those athletes, who are the athletes, who are not in support of Putin or the war, I mean, they don't deserve to be punished. So, I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I mean, being able to focus on concentrate on a fencing match with what's going on back in Ukraine is just, it's unbelievable. So all the props to the women's saber fencing team and all the Ukrainian athletes who, and I mean, talk about a I mean, that's got to be an almost impossible decision to make. Like, if you're one of these Olympic athletes and you've got the, I could go to Paris and compete in the Olympics, and leave behind my friends and family who are fighting. Like, that's, I don't even know how you make that decision.
Yeah.
That I don't even know. So, all of the props to all the Ukrainian athletes who competed. And we're able to make that decision. Who, let's be honest, who had the courage to, and the determination to, okay, I'm going to Paris despite what's going on at home. So all the props to all of you, and obviously all the good vibes and thoughts and prayers and everything to all Ukrainians for what you guys are going through, and the the sincerest of wishes for your continued success in kicking Putin's ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, anyways, I just thought, like Carson mentioned, there was a lot of different ways I could have gone one last thing. But that seemed really important. So, anyways, that's all we've got for you guys. Not to end the show on a down note, but that is all we've got for you guys. Don't forget, you can catch us live pretty much every Sunday at eighth-inning-pod.com/livestream, on demand anytime wherever you get your podcasts at linktree/eighth-inning-stretch. Follow us on Twitter at eighth-inning-pod, and for more, including our newsletter, our weekly newsletter blog, Two Strike Count, in our original documentary series, The Book of Baseball, head to eighth-inning-pod.com. Yes, I know I've been really slacking with Two Strike Count and Book of Baseball, but it's coming, guys, I promise. And help us continue making the best indie baseball content this side of home plate by supporting the show, either using the QR code on your screen or eighth-inning-pod.com/donate. That is a wrap for us for this time, guys. Thank you as always for tuning in and writing into the mailbag and supporting the show and all the stuff you do. We couldn't do it without you guys. And please remember to take care of yourselves, take care of your physical health, take care of your mental health. Your mental health is equally as important as your physical health. And your physical health and your mental health do affect each other. So take care of all of the aspects of yourselves, and take care of each other. That is becoming increasingly important in our troubled times. And also a shout out again to the state of Minnesota for giving us America the treasure that is Tim Walz, the future vice president of the United States of America. And yeah, and I know it's a bit early, but if you haven't already, please, I would urge all of you to, if you haven't already registered to vote, register to vote. And I won't tell you who to vote for, but come on, guys. Like, this might be the easiest choice in the history of any election in this country. Hope and change and joy and progress, or fear, division, and yeah. So, anyways, everybody have an awesome week. Keep an eye out for Two Strike Count. Keep an eye out for a new episode of the Book of Baseball, and we'll see you guys next time.